Good morning, everybody. We are going to get started. Thank you very much for being here. We are just waiting for the minister from Colombia, but judging from the queues that I saw at the gate, it may take a couple more minutes. So in the meantime, we're going to start. Thank you for being with us. We are very excited to start the week after the SDGs were adopted with basically working towards providing solutions for one or two or more of the SDGs, depending on how you look at it. So this session is precisely about how we can, working together, governments, private sector, and international organizations, together with civil society, implement solutions that will address the goals that were adopted last week. First and foremost, in terms of goals, it would be SDG number 2, which talks about ending hunger, achieving food security, improving nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture. But frankly, a lot of what we will be doing also has to do with SDG12, which is about sustainable production and consumption patterns. How governments are getting ready to implement the Sustainable Development Goals, how international organizations can support in governments implementing those goals. We are going to look at the perspectives from the private sector, how the private sector in its different manifestations, the big, the medium, the small, those that set standards in agriculture or agri-food, those who certify for those standards, those who audit those standards, can contribute to the sustainable agricultural practices. We are going to look at how to leverage technology to provide solutions. And last but not least, Puban Selvananath. He is the head of the ITC office in New York, previously with the UN Global Compact. He knows all about the Blue Numbers Initiative. Puban.
Thank you, Aranja. Thank you to so many in this room who've helped us to get to this point. I think I'm going to just expound on what Miguel has said. The Blue Number Initiative, of course, at its very core is an identification system, but the way that we're looking at it here across the UN agencies is it's an infrastructure for food systems and for food security. If you want to fly millions of planes through the air, somebody's got to be controlling air traffic. If you want to put millions of cars and buses on the road, somebody's got to write the rules as to how people drive, how people behave with each other. You know, this idea of the Blue Number Initiative essentially sets a condition of infrastructure, and that's how people should be looking at it. It's not a certification system, it's not a standard, it's infrastructure that allows for certification and standards to happen. Next, please. So, our food systems today, I believe, are basically half a bridge. Supply chains, they look at efficiencies, they look at standards, they look at consumer expectations, but it's usually engineered from the demand side. And when we start looking at this bridge, all the costs accrue to either the consumer or the producer. And also, we don't really know where this bridge is going to land. If we ask today different certification bodies, we ask different standards, different countries, they all have a different place as to where this bridge should land. Next, please. So, my daughter helped me to prepare this slide. So, what we see here is the string line, the top line, the blue line in here that actually gives us the direction of the bridge is what's been agreed here over the last couple of days. It's about government policy until 2030. It gives governments a direction. The SDGs allow government to think in the framework of some bigger picture ideas. The blue numbers is about farmers being able to build the bridge from the other side to meet where industry has been over the last 20 to 30 years. It allows for us to start looking bottom up. It allows for us looking horizontally, all these wonderful words that actually mean something now because we have the means to do it, because blue numbers allow people to take action by themselves, to say, okay, I want to come and meet the certification bridge. I don't need to wait for somebody to fly out from Denmark or from Netherlands to come and see where I am. I'm going to put myself onto this map first. Now, the important thing about this bridge on the other side, which is by farmers sharing their own data, is that it is supported by every SDG indicator and metric that you will be able to read today, the 169 indicators, the 17 global goals, as they're now called as of Friday, as opposed to the SDGs. All of those aspects are built into what we would expect for the farmers to share and to express as their needs. They can say, I want this thing, I'm not having it in my area, how can I get it? They are basically volunteering themselves to become part of the global food system. And the pillar on the other side is that the neutral oversight by the UN system means that every agency in the UN system is there to help the farmer, is there to help the companies, is there to ensure that we can help by telling you this is what the governments may be moving towards. No government today, except for Colombia, probably is advanced in this aspect, has actually been able to match the SDG indicator set to what a community requires. Over the next 2 to 3 years, this is what governments are going to be doing. Agricultural policy for the next 2 to 3 years is how do we make these indicators happen? We as the UN system will be able to help companies on that journey to make sure they're at the right tables, listening to how governments are making these policies happen. Next, please. This is just a historical thing. This is a new and old here. At the bottom, it used to be the agriculture led to industry, industry led to services. This was the economic development of the planet, the world. This is how the World Bank thought about things in the 1980s. On one side, there was a solid bubble, which was business. Never should it ever meet government. It was on the other side of industrial regulation. Everybody was kind of not connected. This is the old way of doing things because we didn't have ICT, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have social media. The new way of doing things is that that whole stuff, all of that is just in the middle somewhere and it's all conflated. Customers and farmers and so forth, they don't care if you're a business, if you're a government, because that might be the only thing that they see. Certification might be equivalent to regulation, who knows? All they're talking about is how do I get my product from here to there? Is it a government law? Is it a national requirement? Is it an international law? I don't care. Tell me what I need to do. Tell me how I can access the skills, the capacity building, the extension services. How do I get from here to there? And this link between agriculture and consumer and the market is so much more direct today. And it goes through all of these things in the middle, and all of those things in the middle are transparent to each other. You can no longer hide behind, I'm a government, I'm a regulation. It doesn't work that way anymore. So this is the new pattern for development. Just to expound on this, and I'll close with this, I think for too long agriculture has essentially been defined by very extractive models. Extractive political institutions, extractive economic processes. But this is not evil. It's just the way that we've been able to do things up to now. There's no malicious intent. It was just the best way we could do things. But as I said before, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, these services today reach hundreds of millions of people, and that number is just growing. Many of these hundreds of millions of people are actually farmers. If you go into many economies today, emerging economies, they use Facebook as a tool on how to share practices, on how to do things. So, farmers themselves use Facebook, but farmers are also consumers. If we look at the ASEAN region, which we'll be talking about shortly, that bulk of people are the same people who are then going to go out and buy the shampoos, going to buy all the other things that are going to drive the economy. Farmers have knowledge, and what they want is opportunities for themselves, for their families, and for their communities. And they want to share this knowledge, and Bluenumbers is actually allowing for this to happen. So they will and they will want to share their information, because that process, the Bluenumbers, opens the gates for them to participate. I hope that this actually conveys the idea that it's infrastructure. Gates, roads, think that.
Thank you very much, Bhuvan. Thank you for... So what have we learned in this session? One, that the Bluenumbers is a bit the Facebook of the United Nations for Sustainable Agriculture. We'll have to talk not just to Jeff Sachs, but we'll also now have to talk to Mark Zuckerberg to make sure that he's in line with that. This is going to help one and foremost farmers. It's going to give them a voice. It's going to give them visibility. It's going to help them with connectivity. With joining value chains, it's going to help them with networking. 3, it's going to help them improve their sustainability, their competitiveness. 4, it's going to help them share best practices, exchange information, the platform to share training materials and so on that we heard about. Second, it's going to be useful for buyers, for corporations. Why? Because it's good for their business. They find their suppliers. Two, they can have clearer, more transparent, traceable value chains. And I start from the principle that in principle, a good corporation wants its value chain to be traceable and transparent, because that is what will give trust to the consumers. Three, is going to help these buyers, these corporations, also embed its entire value chain into a sustainability path. Three, for consumers, this is about trust. This is about knowledge. This is about information. It's about knowing where the product that I consume comes from. Finally, for government, and this is a dimension that is extremely important, there is this big data. It's big data to have trends, it's big data to control diseases, it's big data to measure productivity, it is big data to have levers to work on for growth, it is good for extension services, and so on and so forth. So for now, our tentative answer at the end of this first session is that this UN Facebook for Sustainable Agriculture can work to help us deliver on this SDG2 and all the connected SDGs around it.